Victor is the founder of VOS Selections, a wine, spirits, and sake importer based in New York City. He has been in the news quite a bit recently for the case he helped establish against the most recent round of Trump tariffs against European imported products, and most notably wine in this case. Today, we're going to just talk about a few key points and the highlights of what's been going on over the last several months, and especially last week. And number one, we'll talk about how the lawsuit came about. Number two, what does this case mean for the future of tariffs? And finally, number three, how can Italian wineries, the wine industry, importers continue to remain vigilant while we're dealing with the uncertainty of the tariff?
Hello, welcome to Masterclass U.S. Wine Market with me, your host, Juliana Colangelo. This show has been designed to demystify the U.S. market for Italian wineries through interviews with experts in sales and distribution, social media, communications, and so much more. We will quiz each of our esteemed guests in every episode to solidify the lessons that we've learned from the episode. So sharpen your pencils, get out your notebooks, and join us this week to learn more about the U.S. market.
Hello, welcome to Masterclass U.S. Wine Market. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Victor Schwartz to the Italian Wine Podcast. Victor is the founder of VOS Selections, a wine, spirits, and sake importer based in New York City. He has been in the news quite a bit recently for the case he helped establish against the most recent round of Trump tariffs against European imported products, and most notably wine in this case. So Victor, first off, I know you're quite busy. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I really appreciate you being on the show today.
My pleasure. It's great to speak with you.
So you founded VOS in 1987. Did you ever think you see your company's name on a Supreme Court case?
No.
You started your company 38 years ago.
A resounding no. I don't think I'd be unique in saying that when I founded my little wine company, that was in the game plan, seeing my name in a lawsuit against the President of the United States. That was not what I was trying to do. I was just looking to, find really interesting, delicious wines,
right,
bring them back here, find a community that was interested in the same things that I was interested in, and sell them. And that was the play.
Right.
And that's what I've been doing for 39 years until this year.
Yes, exactly. And it's quite fascinating and interesting, the directions that wine can take you, and including this one. So.
Certainly unexpected.
Yes, absolutely. So Victor, today we're going to just talk about a few key points and the highlights of what's been going on over the last several months, and especially last week. And number one, we'll talk about how the lawsuit came about. Number two, what does this case mean for the future of tariffs? And finally, number three, how can Italian wineries, the wine industry, importers continue to remain vigilant while we're dealing with the uncertainty of the tariffs? So for starters, can you give us a little bit of a background on the case VOS Selections, Inc. versus Trump and how it began?
Well, how it began. The Liberty Justice Center is a nonprofit organization that's really behind the case. I was introduced to Professor Ilya Somin by my nephew. Ilya Somin was my nephew's former law professor at George Mason University, which I always like to point out is the Antonin Scalia School of Law. So you can understand where they're coming from, but that's okay. I found out that Professor Somin was beginning a lawsuit against the tariffs. This was back in early March. And, being in the wine industry, we've all been hyper aware. We started meeting with the USWTA, United States Wine Trade Association, back last August out of concern about what could be coming down the pike. And unfortunately, it did come. And when I heard about this lawsuit, I said, God, I'd love to talk to this guy. Just tell him what's going on in the wine business, get some interest in our plight.
Right.
So it was a Sunday. I emailed Professor Somin, and I was shocked. He got right back to me. Clearly, he liked my story, and we had a wonderful conversation. And he said, "Oh, you got to really talk to the lead counsel on this case, Jeffrey Schwab," which I did like a couple of days later, and told him the same story. God, we're on the front line. We're the canaries in the coal mine here. We're importers. Right there, we're going to be most impacted by these proposed tariffs. And that was all nice, and that's really where I kind of left it. I just thought I was going to, educate them on what was going on in the wine business.
So you thought you'd be more background and research.
Yeah, I didn't have any intention of suing the government or anything like this. But the next day he said, "Hey, would you be interested in joining our case? We have a group of small businesses, all from different fields. There were no other wine businesses, but they were all importers, and they were all be severely impacted. They were all small businesses like mine." And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll throw my hat in the ring. Yeah, I'll put my name on that." And that was cool. But then a few days later, they came back to me and asked if I would be the lead plaintiff. And that's when I started thinking, wow, what is this? Sounds serious.
Yes.
Anyway, I had a lot of trepidation. spoke to my family, spoke to some
Imagine.
friends that are lawyers. I know an AG at New York State, Letitia James's office. They understood the ramifications of being a lead plaintiff more than I did. But, at the end of the day, I just felt like here we are all complaining about our inability to do anything about all the different things that were going on, and certainly specifically about the tariffs. And I just thought, well, if not me, who?
Right.
This thing just landed on my plate. Like, there it is. You can do something, Victor. You've been in this business for, close to 40 years. I don't know what's going to happen, but how could I possibly not take this opportunity? And it was good for like the wine business and small businesses across America. And there it is. Boom. You know what I mean? The door is wide open. It just would have been like, I just felt this moral imperative. I got to do this. I have to do this. I don't know what's going to happen. Let the chips fall where they may. I need to do it. And it was kind of like that.
That's pretty serendipitous, but also very brave
Yes.
of you to take that risk in terms of putting your name on the case. And
I'd like to believe others would do the same.
yes, I would like to believe the same. Victor, can you tell us a little bit more? We know that the lawsuit argues that the International Emergency Economic Powers Act doesn't authorize the imposition of tariffs in this context. But could you tell us a little bit more about why VOS became the lead plaintiff, or why they felt that your company had the greatest argument in order to be the lead plaintiff in this case?
Well, look, I cannot speak for the lawyers, and I actually never asked them this question. Why did they pick me? I think it would probably be a number of factors. Certainly, one is that our company and our industry is so clearly impacted negatively by these tariffs. They must have liked my story. They must have liked the way I was speaking about the story, I guess. I don't know. I'm not. This is not my bailiwick.
Right.
So I don't know how you choose a lead plaintiff. I did learn later, which was kind of funny. Later meaning like last week, I was reading the Wall Street Journal article, which I highly recommend because they go into more detail about it.
Okay.
They were looking for a lead plaintiff. These guys are out there. They're constitutional. This is a libertarian public interest law firm, right? This is what they do. And they saw what was going on. They were really incensed by the power grab of this administration, and illegal power grab in their eyes. And they said, this is a really important case. So they wanted to find a lead plaintiff. And I discovered from reading the journal article that a lot of people did not want to step up. So they were kind of like the guy was feeling like, this is okay. I'm not for this, but God, I don't want to put my neck on the line.
Yeah.
Because you can understand. I mean, you can see how this administration operates. I guess there's a risk involved.
Absolutely.
I just barreled ahead. So I don't know. I hope nothing happens.
Well, here we are, our Tuesday, June 3rd, and the news came out last week. So we're almost a week out. So what has the response been like? I know you've been doing tons of interviews, but what has the response been like from the rest of the wine industry, but, just in general?
Oh, much, 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 much more than I ever would have thought. All of our contacts, all of our emails, our website, it's blown up in a way that's unbelievably clearly. This case has hit a very, very raw nerve in America, in the wine industry, for small businesses, in foreigners. People are contacting me from around the world, patting me on the back, putting, elevating me. Like it's kind of embarrassing. There was an article in Corriere della Sera. The Italians love me. They say, you're a rock star. They say David versus Goliath. I mean, it's crazy.
Wow.
I've done so many Italian interviews. I had 2 interviews with Rai last Friday. One was on a Zoom, and one they came to my office. They have a little production company here in the city, and they were in there and filming. But I mean, it's kind of crazy.
That's amazing.
And heartwarming too. It's like, this is such an important topic because it just touches on anybody and everybody. Whether you're in business or you see what's going to happen to your little family farm. And I mean, those are the kind of people I work with. I'm working with small farmers.
Right.
But it has touched such a raw nerve.
That's amazing.
It
There's
really
probably a
is amazing.
statue of you somewhere in Italy being constructed as we speak.
I'm afraid to go there. I might get mobbed,
Oh my gosh.
Maybe I should just give everybody a VOS Selections hat, You go around, it's like, oh my God, you rock star. It's wild. It's really wild. And Italy for more, I don't know why, but more than any other country has really
Wow, that's interesting. So you've gotten more
I don't know
response.
why. Maybe there's a thing they feel like some connection. I don't know.
Very interesting. That is well, passionate people in Italy. And you
Yeah,
can say that we're here on the Italian Wine Podcast, so that's great to hear.
it
So,
is.
how about in terms of operations? What is the implication of this case for a wine importer like yourself as we move forward?
I mean, it's very very impactful. People who don't really understand our business or businesses in general think, oh, 10%, 10 cents on a dollar. How impactful can that be? But if you're in the wine business, you know that at the end of the day, if you make 5% net profit at the end of the year, that's kind of where you are. Maybe a little bit more, but that's where you are. 10% tariff, that puts you underwater, right? You
Right.
can't eat that. Despite what the administration thinks you can do, you're going to eat that, or your suppliers are going to eat that. Our suppliers are like us. They're small family farms. How could they possibly absorb that? And then, of course, it's the importance of cash flow. Anybody that knows who's running a business, the cash flow is the real key thing in terms of the success of running a business, the fuel of your business. And a tariff is a cash flow killer because, as I like to point out, we pay that tariff right up front
Right.
at the port. This is before we have sold a single bottle. So even if we raise the price, let's say we raise the price 10%, you're not going to see that for months until you sell that container's worth of wine, right? So where's that money going to come from, especially in a small company? Larger companies, they have access to cash. They have got more money floating around. They can do different things, et cetera, et cetera. Small company doesn't have that kind of flexibility. So what are we going to do to come up with 10% when we bring a container in, which you have to pay right then and there at the port before we can get our goods?
Exactly.
That's a big challenge, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, it's pretty simple when it comes to business in that way. You have to sell more, you have to spend less, right? And it comes down to where can you spend less?
We're going to sell more. As we were just talking before the show, we're in a contracting market.
Right.
Wine business is not a great business these days. So contraction is definitely the key word. Contraction is the way we are going to be able to do it. We're going to contract our inventory. We're going to contract, our orders will be smaller. Our support of our wineries will be reduced, right? We all know that wineries make a number of different cuvées, sometimes quite a few, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can't represent all those cuvées, not if they're not turning over. So we're going to focus more on products that are turning over. And if it's not turning over quite as fast, which might be some of the more interesting products that we carry, we're going to have to put them to the side for a moment.
Right.
Also, it's going to affect bringing on new products. We know our business is a very risky business, right? We have to invest a chunk of money into a new product, a new venture, a new domain, and think, hey, I think this is going to do really well in the market. It's great. This is great stuff. But you bring it in and you try to talk to people about it and sell it to them. Well, that's a risky thing, right? You don't have it guaranteed. We can't afford to take those chances. Why? Because our money's tied up by having to pay the VIG to the government. I mean, it is a little bit like that.
Yeah.
It's a strong boss, strong man coming in, dare I say, the mob coming in and saying, hey, I want 10% off the top. It's nasty.
Yeah, no, it's a layered business and it's complex in terms of how everything gets to market, and it's also resource intensive. So as you said, every dollar really counts, and even that 10% can be extremely detrimental. So going forward now, legal team that you worked with giving you any indication of kind of what comes next in terms of the lawsuit? Is it there be a part two, or is it finished for now? Like,
No. It's no. Look, as elated as we were last Wednesday when we got the decision, we all knew that this was only step one in the legal process. Of course, we expected a response from the administration. They have legal methods to go forward. They're going to appeal, et cetera, et cetera. So what has happened is they went in front of, I guess it's the district court in Washington, D.C., which is the second highest court in the land, second only to the Supreme Court. And they got a stay, a hold on the decision.
okay,
And I believe that ends June 9th is the date that I was told. So the administration has until then to come up with their response.
understood. Okay,
Then that court will have the ability after that to make a decision. I believe that the administration has also gone to the Supreme Court asking for them to pick up the case right away. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to speak as an expert on this part of it. A lot of people do think it's going to go to SCOTUS.
okay,
I'm not so sure. I have my own theories about this, but that's the way I'm thinking. But we don't know. There's certainly it certainly needs to go through the legal machinations of the courts. Those are the next steps, and that's what we will be doing, and that's what my legal team will be pursuing.
Okay, got it. So more to come next week, and I imagine you're going to be very busy between then and now, continuing along on this journey and this path.
Mhm.
Is there anything, you're putting your name and your business out there in quite a massive way with this lawsuit, but is there anything you might give as advice to other of us in the industry right now, other importers?
Yes, yes, because I know this is not the end. If you listen to things that the administration is saying, I was interviewed by the BBC last week. They played a clip of Peter Navarro, you know who he is, right? Speaking, and basically, he's very extreme. Tariffs are his thing. He's been talking about tariffs for, I don't know, last 40 years. He thinks this is the greatest thing. And it's a bizarre philosophy that I don't think any other economist agrees with. They are dead set on implementing tariffs.
Yes.
We are going to win. I'm very confident that we are going to win regarding the particular case we are in, which challenges the authority of this administration to use IEPA,
Right.
the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, to impose tariffs, because they don't talk about tariffs in IEPA, nor did he go through Congress, which IEPA requires. So this
Okay.
is a specific case, and we are going to win this case because our case is so strong. However, it is not the only way the administration can impose tariffs. It was just the easiest backdoor way that they try to slip them through, with an executive order, right? You just say it on the executive, boom, and it's done. I mean, it's the kind of autocratic approach that this administration has taken on a great number of issues. They have other ways. They're going to have to go through Congress. It'll be more cumbersome. There will be some limitation, but it's like 6 months of tariffs. There will be some nastiness coming. So this is no time to sit back and to say, great, we won, let's move on. There's no tariffs. There are still tariffs now. And believe me, there will be tariffs. I mean, the administration controls Congress. And as we've seen, Congress just lays down to whatever the administration wants to be done. I am very concerned there will be tariffs in another method. And I am, and people I'm talking to, and I already started talking to some smarter people than myself when it comes to social media and stuff, to starting to organize wine industry and all small businesses. We need to organize. I think we've started on something. For whatever reason, I've got a platform. I am going to use that platform to keep this in the
Absolutely.
forefront and to get us to put this word out there. Because here's the thing that's really interesting. There's a couple of things that are very interesting. This is a completely nonpartisan thing. So whoever you voted for last year is just not the issue. The issue is that these tariffs are very bad for businesses, especially small businesses. And the fact is, it crosses all aisles. And that's I think it's one of the reasons that the administration did not want to go through Congress. Because the Congress, unlike the administration, they have to answer to their constituents. So my feeling is we need to win in the court of public opinion. And I think we've already started on that by last week's decision. And that's why I think there was such an incredible, overwhelming outcry. I see the result just in, my little world. We need to pick up on that and win this case in front of Congress. And we
Right.
can do that. If we put pressure on Congress, I think we can win this case, but we have to do that. And that's what the wine industry needs to do. And that's what I'll be working on in the next few weeks, just after we see, how the courts decide and how the administration decides. I mean, the alternative is maybe the administration says, well, this is not a place to go down. This is not a fight we want to fight. And they'll find some way to save face and to back out of the tariffs. That would be wonderful.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm not counting on that. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I
Not
mean,
what I've
none of
seen.
us have a crystal ball in this case, but like you
That's
said,
right.
there's determination. This was
Yeah.
tip number one. So it seems like, Victor, you're very motivated to organize and get the entire, industry and other partners now engaged behind this movement to come together to continue the fight, essentially.
It's an important one. It's an existential fight for our industry, again, for small businesses,
Right. For all small businesses.
all small businesses across America, and in fact, really overseas too. But
Absolutely.
it's really very impactful and very negative, and if I may add, it was completely unnecessary.
Yeah. Well, thank you for putting yourself out there and taking on this fight. We know how much of a commitment this is, and also just the risk that you're incurring as a company and as a person. So thank you again, Victor, for being on the show today and during this incredibly busy time. We really, really appreciate your time, and thank you again.
You're very welcome, and I'm really happy to do it. Thanks for covering such an important subject.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for joining me today. Stay tuned each week for new episodes of the Masterclass US Wine Market with me, Juliana Colangelo. And remember, if you've enjoyed today's show, hit the like and follow buttons wherever you get your podcasts.